And I'd like to thank you guys all for coming to hear Trisha's story. This is Sam Lambright. She's our assistant director here and our event coordinator.
Sorry, I like to talk in front of children, not adults, so just bear with me. 20 years ago, Union Center Church of the Brethren opened its doors to our daycare. And as we celebrate our 20 years this year, we'll be doing lots of community events, so be on the lookout for those. A lot of things have changed over the past 20 years from directors, teachers, and our board members. With the support of the community, Union Center Daycare and Preschool now has a waiting list all the way till 2017, and we serve over 80 families in the community, in the Elkhart community, from 6 weeks old to 12 years. We are very proud of the work that Union Center does and the ministry that we provide for the community. We are not asking, but if you would like to, we are taking donations for Riley's Children's Hospital. There will be wagons, little red wagons in the fellowship hall afterwards where we have cookies and punch waiting for you. You may donate money in those wagons and we will make sure that the money gets to Riley's. We have about 10 children here at our center that use Riley's, so Riley's holds a very close place to our heart. We've done lots of fundraisers for them. And right now I'd like to welcome our board chairman, Rodney Bontrager, so he can say a prayer.
I would like to welcome you guys here tonight. One thing, if you would like to write a check for tonight, make that out to Riley's Children's Hospital, and then we can make that go down there. Let's have a word of prayer, please. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us here tonight. Thank you for the ministry that you have laid upon Union Center Church to open up their doors to the daycare, that we can be a pillar in the community, both serving children and providing jobs for neighbors of the community. We give you thanks for all the children that you entrust us with daily. We give you great praise for the staff you have blessed us with over the 20 years, and look, continuing to continue this ministry that you laid upon us, our heart. Please be with Trisha tonight as she shares her testimony with us, that we may all take something away from it that may help us grow and further you. We ask this in your name. Amen. I guess I'll introduce Trisha now. Trisha is my cousin, so there is a little extra connection here. Some of you know Trisha from an accident she was in Christmas Sunday of 1986 that she was involved in with her mother and sister that was killed. And then you fast forward 30 years, and she was in an accident with her 8-week-old daughter at the time that was almost a fatal accident. Trisha is a mother of 4 children. She has 3 boys and 1 daughter, Cora. She is a registered nurse, is her profession. So I'll turn it over to Trisha now.
This is kind of scary. I told Rodney, asked me if I wanted a podium. I said, yes, make it really high so I can hide behind it, please. So over the years, I've always told myself that if I was given the opportunity, I prayed that I would be bold enough, and most importantly, be obedient in how God shaped my life. And just a side note, if you choose to make that promise to God, He'll take it and He'll run with it. So a few months ago, my cousin Rodney texted me out of the blue, and it said, have you ever thought about public speaking? And those of you that know me know that I'm a pretty private person. I tend to just kind of go in the background. But I thought to myself, all right, God, this is it. So I asked for more information. And when he first asked me if I would be a guest speaker, my hands immediately got sweaty, just like they are right now. My heart started beating a little bit quicker, and I thought, no way. That's way bigger than what I had in mind when I made that little promise to God. But you know what? He didn't let me off the hook quite that easy. So before I even had time to think about what I was agreeing to, I typed, "Okay, I'll do it," and hit send. And then I thought, oh no. So as I've been preparing and thinking about what I wanted to share, I felt the need to start back to when I was a little girl. And honestly, there's so many times I thought to myself, what in the world am I doing? I'm not a public speaker. Way far out of my comfort zone. People go to school for years to learn how to be a public speaker. I went to school to be a nurse, not a public speaker. And yet here I am. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, a daughter, sister, and a friend. But most importantly, I'm a daughter of the King. And this is his story of the path that he's asked for me to walk. Joshua 1:9 says, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will always be with you." So here we go. I grew up in Napanee, and I've lived here all my life, minus going away to school. Grew up with my parents, who were high school sweethearts, and my little sister, Lori. Life was good and a lot of fun. Until December 21st, 1986, my family's world was turned upside down. My mom, sister, and I headed to church. My dad stayed home. He wasn't feeling well. Unfortunately, my mom and my sister wouldn't be coming home that day. We were involved in an accident just miles from our house. And Jesus had called them home. My memory of this day and the days all to follow are very cloudy. And most of what I know were things that were shared with me later on. But one thing very clearly that I remember was arguing with my sister over who got to sit in the front seat. And I lost. But God doesn't make mistakes. I spent a total of 6 days in the hospital with a broken leg, fractured clavicle, and a ruptured spleen. I always think there's a special bond between a little girl and her daddy. And when I was told that my mommy wouldn't be coming back, I turned to my dad and said, "At least we have each other." I think God's given me a gift, and that's to look on the bright side and trust him. From that point on, my dad and I have had this indescribable and mostly unspoken bond. And if any of you know anything about my dad, the unspoken part doesn't come as much of a surprise. He's a man of few words. But I can tell you, when he does speak, you need to listen. He's a godly man, full of integrity, and who is determined to raise his 5-year-old little girl the best he could. And I have the utmost respect for him. So it was just my dad and I for a few years before he met Sherry. I remember being so excited that this lady was coming around, although she was probably terrified. The stories that she shared with me of the couple times that she met me, let's just say I'm surprised she stayed. I was pretty wild. They were married in 1989, and she officially adopted me the following year. I remember walking back down the aisle after their wedding and just crying. And my Aunt Marlene came up to me and asked me if I was okay. And my reply was, yes, I'm just so happy. See, God says he will not cause pain without allowing something new to be born. And I was not only lucky enough to have one fantastic mom, but I gained a second one who loves me unconditionally. When I was in 6th grade, my sister Michelle was born. I even got to help pick out her name. Michelle is my best friend. Despite almost 12 years between us, she gets me like nobody else does. And I can't imagine my life without either one of them. Then fast forward many years to when I met my husband, Dan. I said met loosely as we went to the same high school. I knew most of his family, 99% of his family. Graduated high school with some of his cousins. I had just broken off a prior engagement, knowing that that wasn't what God had in store for me. And I don't really buy into the one person out there soulmate idea. But I do know that Dan is perfect for me. He compliments me in ways that I fall short, picks me up when I'm broken, and most importantly, he leads our family. Early on in dating, I can remember talking with him one evening, and out of the blue, he asked me if I was an accident when I was little. I said yes. And he told me that his dad was one of the first on the scene as a police officer. God doesn't make mistakes. This year, we will celebrate 11 years being married. Our road to building our family wasn't easy. After our oldest Colton was born, we suffered through 2 miscarriages. And I learned that I had a blood clotting disorder and needed to give myself daily injections of a blood thinner for any future pregnancies. So when Travis was born, our second, we were so excited. But then we would go on to lose another pregnancy, this time at 19 weeks, with no explanation. We then had our little Beau. He was born strong and healthy, and we decided our family was complete. At least we thought so. God had a little something different in mind. We had just moved, and I was giving away everything baby-related other than anything 18 months, which is what he was currently in. And I mean, everything I was giving away. And then you can guess what happened. We found out we would be welcoming another little one, but this time it was a little girl. And I could immediately see that special sparkle in Dan's eyes when he talked about having a little girl. Even the boys were thrilled, and pink overtook our house. January 18th, 2015, Cora May was born, and she was perfect. We settled into our new routine of 6 people, and life was good. March 24th was just like any other day, until it wasn't. I decided to run a few errands and turned in front of the post office. And after that, everything seemed to run in slow motion. I heard a loud pop. I was shoved to the side and spun around. When I realized what had just happened, I got out and ran over to Cora's side, only to see her door and the entire wheel well all smashed in. Remember, God doesn't make mistakes. Travis's car seat was located directly behind Cora's. And see, earlier that day, I was arguing with him over staying to play at a friend's house with Bo or coming along with me to my dentist appointment. I lost again. I had to crawl through the car to get Cora's car seat out, but I wasn't at all prepared for what I would see. Her eyes were rolled back and her body was limp. And I never thought I would be breathing life into my newborn baby girl. But I remember looking to my right and seeing someone with their arms lifted up to the heavens in prayer. And that point on, I believe God's army was rising up on Cora's behalf. As people began praying all around the world, God set in place the perfect people to care for her. While in the emergency room at Elkhart, we were taken to the quiet room where no parent wishes to find themselves. We learned that Cora had bleeding in her brain along with several rib fractures. And she was being prepped to fly down to Riley Children's Hospital, as that was the closest hospital that wanted to accept her because of her age and her injuries. It all seemed like a horrible dream. Watching my peers and my coworkers that I've worked with, working on my own daughter, but they were like a well-oiled machine, and they were perfect. As a parent, to put your child who is intubated onto a helicopter to be flown away 3 hours without you was gut-wrenching. We didn't know if the next time we saw her, if she would be alive. We had to trust. We arrived at Riley several hours later. We found Cora hooked up to so many different machines, tubes, wires, cords everywhere. She was on a ventilator to assist her breathing, EEG wires attached to her head to monitor for seizures, telemetry on her chest to watch her heart rate, rhythm, IVs with fluids running, blood pressure cuffs, a C-collar to stabilize her neck. But you know what? Amidst all the chaos of that day, we felt so calm and had a peace that surrounded us in that room that's only explained by the presence of our Lord. Period. Over the next few days, we had so many ups and downs. When Cora needed to be reintubated one time to start a higher dose of seizure medication, Dan and I once again found ourselves in the quiet room, along with my mom and sister, feeling very deflated. When all of a sudden, Dan let out a little chuckle. And you can only imagine the looks on our faces, like, are you going crazy? Why are you laughing? But he said, right then, God just said to him, don't worry. I love her so much more than you can even imagine. Trust me. I've got this. So from that point on, we let go and let God. Cora continued to amaze each doctor that came in contact with her, and we all know why. You see, there are so many examples of God's promise and his timing of things, not ours. Deuteronomy 31:6 says, "Don't mistake God's patience for his absence. His timing is perfect, and his presence is constant. He's always with you." The protocol after a head injury requires the EEG monitoring for 24 hours. Cora had passed that timeline without any abnormal activity. So we were bummed when our nurse was having difficulty connecting with the doctor to get the order to have it removed. There was a reason for that. During the delay, well past their normal 24 hours, Cora began showing seizure activity. Nothing that we could outwardly see, only what those leads captured. God's timing is perfect. Before the accident, I exclusively nursed Cora. As a 2-month-old, it was still 7, sometimes 8 times a day. Then cold turkey, I was forced to exclusively pump. For any of you moms who have been through that, you understand what a challenge that is to only pump. I had decided I would pump 4 times a day, half of what I normally nursed. And that sounds crazy, because you're supposed to pump for each time your child eats. And I only did it during the day, not during night. But by God's grace, I was able to keep up. And I built up a supply. Upon discharge, Cora wasn't nursing and had to come home with an NG tube that I could feed her through the milk with the milk that I had pumped. Several weeks after coming home, I developed mastitis, which is a very painful infection of your milk ducts. One day, I decided I'm just going to sit in her room and pray that she's going to start nursing. Mind you, up until this point, and in the hospital, she had no desire. That very day, she ran with it, nursing like she hadn't missed a beat. And she opened up that clogged duct. I never thought that I would say mastitis was a blessing in disguise. But God's timing is perfect. Cora had her NG tube for feedings in until April 24th, exactly 1 month after the accident. She was then nursing well enough and kept up her weight, and we were able to remove it and leave it out as she was fully nursing. During our entire hospital stay, we all stayed healthy. Lack of sleep and high stress often leads to sickness in our house, especially with my husband. He tends to catch anything that blows in the wind, but not this time. In August, Cora had a follow-up MRI to check on the bleeding in her brain. The results left her neurosurgeon giddy and speechless. All of the blood and the extra fluid was gone. What the future holds for Cora, we don't know. She has an EEG coming up in July. And as long as that looks good, we can continue taking off her last medication. She continues to meet her milestones, and whether or not she'll have troubles in the future, time will tell. But that's where faith comes in. I think many reserve the term miracles as being back in Bible times. But I have a little girl sitting right here in the front row to challenge that. I firmly believe that Cora is a miracle, and he healed her. And for whatever reason, God chose her. I believe he has used her to change the lives of so many people outside of our little bubble. And I'm okay with that. God doesn't tell us our life will be easy. In fact, he promises that there will be hardships. And in fact, he says that we should find joy in the struggle, as he uses the struggles to watch you grow. I've prepared a short slideshow of pictures I'd like to share with you all. I love pictures. I think that they are able to tell a story sometimes better than what words can. When it's finished, I'm open for any questions or comments that any of you may have.
Grand earth has quaked before, moved by the sound of his voice, and seas that are shaken and stirred can be calmed and broken for my regard. And through it all, my eyes are on you. And through it all, it is well. And through it all, my eyes are on you. And it is well with me. And far beyond